4 French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
Before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and a drift to show off.
Dan Gregory now, I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to another sprint race evening here in the sim racing magazine GT4 Challenge. We return to one of the circuits we visited here in the GT4 Winter Tour just earlier this year, and we're back at Phillip Island in Australia. This circuit certainly provided a lot of great action last time out, and it was a great testing ground to see how this sprint race evening was going to work. Chaz Draycott and Ed May in the commentary box for yet another great night of action, I'm sure. Ed, we, like I say, had a fantastic time. We came here last time. Maybe not as chaotic for this one, but still, we've got the sprint race format to look forward to. 2 races tonight, 20 minutes and 30 minutes. It should be a belter.
Yes, it really should. Thank you very much, Chaz. And Phillip Island is a circuit that I think is slept on a lot on iRacing. It's not rated as highly as it should be. It's not used in many officials at all because I guess it's quite a narrow circuit at points. Others as well, it widens out where you can get some great side-by-side action, but it does demand a lot of the drivers. The corners come very quickly at you here, a lot of fast sweepers, and then you've got the elevation change through that final sector, which just demands a lot of the drivers, and there's lots of different lines that they can take through there, which creates some interesting dynamics during the race of maybe the inside getting left open a little bit too wide, other drivers liking to cut along the inside but then have a poorer exit. It does sort of mix and match quite brilliantly around here, and then also qualifying is going to be very important around here because it's not a circuit where slipstream is too strong, so we're going to keep our eyes open on that as well. But I mean, what a end to the championship we've got in store, haven't we? We've got these sort of the Asia Tour right at the end of the season. We go to here, Motegi and Suzuka, I believe, to round out the season.
Yeah, I think
belter.
I still find the name of Motegi really strange because it's changed from Twin Ring Motegi, as everybody has always known and loved it, to now be called the Mobility Resort Motegi. Sounds like it's just going to be full of old people. But still, it'll be a great circuit to head to, and we've actually had a vote as well on the start of the session time for that. So it's going to be 4:30 local time when we get that session underway, which will mean that it's going to be a lot darker by the time the race ends. So it's going to be one of our endurance races that heads into nighttime, which I'm really looking forward to doing. We have actually got Simon Povey on track, who's just popped up into the session once again, doing his usual of popping in last minute, bless him. But it's Nils Kor that leads the championship at the moment, 194 points to Nils. And, well, it was important, wasn't it, Ed, last time at Jerez and at Monza as well, for him to try and do his best to get away from Taylor Adams and the likes of Matt Slight as well. And he's been really making it work so far as Nils Kor. He's not out on circuit at the moment, so we won't have a look at him just yet. But that advantage now going up to 14 points with 3 race meetings left. That's pretty important for him, isn't it? As Simon, with his first flying lap of the session, goes quickest.
He seems just so comfortable in that car, and he's obviously missed a couple of rounds as Simon, but now as we get towards the later end of the season, he's only 36 points behind Nils Kor in the championship, and with 3 rounds to go, he could easily make up that deficit before the end of the season, as can Taylor Adams. And with these sprint rounds offering a few more points on offer for the drivers, it does mean that if you have a poor result, it can really turn a championship upside down for you.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. It's, you know, you don't get a second chance really with the endurance races, so there's a lot more riding on a good performance in one big lump there. So we'll be excited to see how they get on in those final moments of the season. Nils Kor is now out on track. Not sure whether he's heard me and just decided to crack on and give the BMW a bit more airtime at the end of the session. A quick shout out as well to the sponsors of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, Oris Digital, Crockery Direct, Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Bespoke Shelters. Really appreciate all the support, guys, and of course we hope to have you with us for future seasons as well. No future season planned just yet for this championship, but I think it's inevitable that we will eventually do another one, isn't it, Ed?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's going to have to be a matter of when and not if. Obviously, keep your eyes on the Chaz Draycott socials for announcements of when that will be.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm sure that we'll have a bunch of special events as well along the way, which will be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing how we sort of plan those out and space those out, because we've had a good amount of special events so far, haven't we, that have been quite a hit. I mean, the Cor Oman was one of my absolute favourites. I thought that went really, really well.
And I think the Road America as well. Was it the 300 kilometres of Road America?
Yes, 400 kilometres.
400 kilometres.
Or was it? No, was it 3?
I
can't remember.
It was a long time of Road America. That was a great race as well, actually. It was great to see a lot of newcomers as well sort of make their first races in that championship. No, not that championship, that special event.
Yeah, definitely. We've certainly got a lot of them to come, which will be really exciting to see. We've got a 26-car grid at the moment out there in practice. Everybody just putting in their final laps just to get acclimatised to the conditions ahead of qualifying. Don't forget 2 races tonight though, so it's going to be very different from race 1 to race 2. Still a lot to think about, and we do have a reverse grid as well. The top 10 on the grid get reversed for the second race of the evening. We look here at Mark Johnson in the Legends Racing Aston Martin. He's got the 990 machine of Ralph Meyer just behind him. Heinz Meyer in the chat as well, saying good evening, Chaz and Ed, all the way from South Africa. Looking forward to tonight's broadcast. We've got Tattooed Bacon in there as well, who's going to be, of course, our pit lane reporter, theoretically. Oh, we do need to look at, here's Mike Murphy, by the way, who is once again in the loaded, I can't remember what flavour it was, the the loaded livery is all I'm just going to know it as. But his teammate Ben Chalcraft, he is in the pits, but he says that he's wearing the gold and green of Australia tonight. He actually messaged me earlier today, and he said it's the gold and green of Australia tonight, conveniently also the colours of nacho cheese and jalapeno curly fries. So he's certainly planned that one out well, hasn't he, to match with this evening's theme, being here in Oz. It's the only round in Australia, actually, for this championship. We had 3, or was it even 4 of them? We had, what, here? Oh, dearie me, Danny Lee's off.
3.
Here, Bathurst and Sandown. We did Sandown.
That was
we did Sandown, didn't we? That was possibly the most bonkers meeting we've ever actually had with anything Sim Racing Magazine related, but still. I think Phillip Island was the best middle ground for it. And it's, like you say, it's a circuit that's not used as much, but the drivers will know this place. Everybody seems to know a bit about Phillip Island. I think probably the most famous Australian circuit is Bathurst, but I'd say Phillip Island, maybe after Albert Park, is a close second. Or Adelaide. They've got some good circuits, the Aussies, haven't they? That's the point I'm making here.
Yeah, definitely. There are some real corkers. I've got to say, I think this is one of my favourites of the Australian circuits. It can't beat Bathurst, but this, I think, for me, is a close second. It's just a wonderful circuit, the way it flows so nicely as well. And if you can hook up a nice lap around here, which we'll hopefully see the drivers do in qualifying just in a moment's time, it is just one of the greatest feelings. This and Imola, when you get a lap hooked up, just feels sublime.
Absolutely does, and you can see how close to the coast we are here as well in Australia. The waves crashing off the hills in the background over there, off the exit of turns 1 and 2. But we now wait for the session to tick over and get cracking. Drivers will be heading out of the pit lane just now. The two BMWs absolutely glued to each other as they leave. Toby John's in the middle there as well. You can see the SRM yellow team. Danny Lee Pro Simrig cars. Simon Povey and Nils Korn not moving yet, actually. They're just both sitting there at the moment. Christopher Smith flashing his teammate. You can see that the 3 Jägermeister branded machines make their way out. The wonderful Loris Racing yellow and green team. And then everybody else making their way out gradually, bit by bit, to all try and find their own little bit of clear space on the circuit. We ride on board here with Martin Kenyon in the Aston Martin. Martin's, I don't think, scored any points, unfortunately, yet this season, or he might have just got close on a few occasions. Yeah, unfortunately no points for Martin yet, but he's been attending every round. He's been right in the fight all the way through, so he's just waiting for that one little breakthrough. And as a driver, you know, to get those points, even if you just get the one, it's just rewarding, isn't it, being a part of a league like this when you do make that breakthrough.
Yeah, definitely. That's part of the reason why our championship format sort of rewards drivers based on position more than just turning up and racing. You don't get points past a certain threshold, which incentivizes drivers to stick with it and try as hard as they can to get those few points, because they can mean a lot of difference in those sort of lower championship positions, and it causes a lot of excitement for drivers when they can just creep up into the point scoring positions, and maybe even by doing that leapfrog almost 4 positions in one go.
Absolutely, that's the thing. And as some of the rounds that we've had, you've got drivers that they would just score points for just turning up. You know, they would, at the end of the day, especially with the sprint rounds we've seen in the past as well, actually, they would only really get a good chance at some points because less people tend to enjoy the sprint race format. So, you know, less people in the way then to try and take positions away from you. Kyle Ridley at the moment, who we look at here in the Win It or Bin It Racing BMW, it's actually his home race, isn't it, Ed? He's one of the only drivers, well, he's the only Australian driver in the field, actually. But it's not often we have a home race for any of our competitors, to be honest, except for all those British drivers. So it's good to see Kyle can at least fly the flag at home, see what he can do here.
Yeah, definitely, and maybe we'll get a home race for his teammate Stephen Burns. Go up to Scotland, see if we can
go to Knockhill.
Get our own thrill for Knockhill in lots of these.
Oh,
maybe not actually. For the amount of entrants we have in the championship, can you imagine 40 GT3s?
It'd just be nose to tail the whole way.
Oh, that would be something else. Maybe a special event potentially. Knockhill in the wet.
Oh, good lord! As long as I'm not driving, it's fine. We've got, as you can see, actually, clumps of Porsches and clumps of BMWs at the moment. Nils Core, Ben Chalcraft, Christopher Smith and Stephen Burns, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, all in Beamers. We've got Drew Fletcher, Rob Sharp, Dominic Brennan and Ralph Meyer from 11th down to 14th, all in Porsches. And then Marston, Such, Penny and Gardner in the 19th to 22nd spots. This man that we look at here, Taylor Adams, currently quickest at the moment. His teammate Matt Slight has done a purple sector, though, in the middle of this lap. He's piling his way down the start-finish straight now. Taylor Adams actually just did a purple sector at the end. And he improves again and goes even quicker. But then again, the first laps, I think, weren't quite representative, let's say, as he was now 4.8 seconds ahead of Nils Core. So, yeah, maybe not the representation we expected. Here is Nils Core across the line. Danny Lee goes quickest. Now, he was quickest for a while in practice, wasn't he?
Yeah, he did look quite comfortable in the car around the practice session. Didn't know if maybe he got a bit of help with slipstream, had a good time come through. We weren't here for the whole session, so it was difficult to know exactly how his session was going. But he's seemingly very comfortable out there at the moment, and that is a great time for the driver of the Porsche, as we watch now Simon Povey go fastest by nearly 0.2 of a second ahead of Danny Lee. I think the Aston Martin, though, back to the point about Danny Lee, is going to go quite well around this circuit. Suits, especially the first sector when you've got turn 1 and then the long corner afterwards of turn 2. The cars really do like those sort of faster style corners. It finds it difficult sometimes to get the slow speed turn in that car, very similar to the BMW.
Yeah.
And also, like, powering out from slow speed in the Aston Martin isn't really its strongest suit. But the stability and also the rideability of the car over the curbs through the faster corners, it just really goes and deals with it brilliantly.
Yeah, it really absorbs the bumps. We've seen it at a few circuits where the Aston Martin seems to be the sort of softest car underneath, doesn't it? It really warbles around. Sometimes at flat circuits like Silverstone, for example, it really doesn't behave as well there because it just absorbs all of the fact that the circuit is the flattest thing in the world. But around places like this, it's the perfect place because it can just deal with the circuit so well. I wanted to just reference as well, you can tell I was slightly distracted, but Luke Trevel in the chat said, Heinz said everyone's lucky today because this map is his favourite and he was a serious contender for first place. To which Heinz replied, my apologies, Chaz. Not only does my employee say it's his favourite track, which it really isn't, but he embarrasses me by calling it a map. I wasn't going to say anything, Luke, but yeah. I have to side with Heinz on that one, I'm afraid.
Danny going fastest, but Povey looks like he's going to beat it, Chaz.
Another 0.2 of a second for Simon Povey, wow. Great to see these two going head-to-head, though. We know that Danny's had the pace all season. He's been really quick, but yeah, right up there fighting with Simon Povey for pole position. Niels Core currently third. Mike Murphy going well in fourth place for Minardi Simsport. He's ahead of James Holman in the Mercedes, and it's Matt Slight and Taylor Adams. Those two are completely inseparable as teammates as well, so it's a good thing they work together. We've then got Ben Chalcraft, Dean Powell and Christopher Smith completing the top 10. We've got Toby Johns off the circuit just there at the hairpin. That's going to be a bit of a problem corner for a few drivers tonight, I think, because it's one of those where it's easy to just send it up the inside and try and overtake into there, but it's also very easy to overcook it, and even overcook it on the exit as well, isn't it? Because you can't always see the exit curve when you get on the power.
Yeah, especially as well as the tyres wear on a little bit more, you do use a lot of the front grip to try and turn the car in, especially onto that corner, because you come at it and you can take surprisingly a large amount of speed through there just from the nature of how the corner's cambered, and if you can hook it in nicely, it really works out for you. But if you get that entry slightly wrong, then you do lose a lot of time going up the hill afterwards. So it's going to be, like you say, a problem corner for some drivers. This is Danny Lee with a purple first sector. No, doesn't improve actually. Stays second best, and Danny, after the effort he's been putting in at the start of the session, he's going to be now thinking, like I did pretty much all throughout the first season, what does it take to get pole position against this man when he's on it? Because it's so difficult. You can improve, you go pole position, you think, oh yes, here we go, try and beat that, and then not even half a minute later, he's right behind you, going another 2/10 quicker, and that hard work needs to be done all over again. Obviously, diminishing returns make it a little bit harder as the session wears on, as there's not so much pace left in the car. Drivers as well taking it a little bit easier on the last go around. I saw Danny Lee was about seconds slower on that last lap, so maybe just leaving a little bit on the track, keeping the tyres sort of in the window a little bit more by not pushing as hard, and then going for it again. Simon Povey doing what he likes to do, though, coming in midway through the session for a change of tyres. So for the final 7 minutes, he's going to be in the sort of freshest car with the freshest tyres around here.
Ed Juncker in the chat saying, Ed Juncker saying, I'd like to see Danny Lee on pole. I think a lot of us would, actually. He's been a great addition to the grid. He's a real character and has certainly been getting in a lot of battles this season. He's really been helping promote the championship as well through his content.
I think he was held up a little bit through that final sector and is now coming into the pits. You can see the two Danny Pro Sim Rig cars coming in now, trying to work together maybe for some slipstream to help each other out. I mean, Dean Powell's not doing a bad effort as well. We've kind of not focused on too much because of his teammates' performance, but only 0.3 off of Danny, up inside the top 10 comfortably. Should see him in good stead for the race as it stands.
Yeah, definitely. And to be fair, with the reverse grid as well, we've seen people play the game with the format, haven't we? You know, they've not really pushed for that extra position in the first race of the night, so they can then have a really good second race and a decent starting position for that second race grid. So we'll have to figure out what what the drivers are doing over the course of the first race. 20 minutes for the first one, 30 minutes for the second one. There's also a different point scoring system as well for tonight. Usually with our endurance races, drivers will get 25 points for a race win, followed by 22 for second, and then 20 for third. But here in the sprint races, it's literally 20 points for first place, and then it's just 1 point less per position. So there's less risk versus reward for the drivers to calculate, isn't there, when they're trying to go for a move or trying to defend a place and get in battles?
Yeah, it's all about not just worrying about the first race, but also the second race, because you do get a lot of points on offer for the night. Something for drivers to be aware of, definitely, I think. And of course, you do have the reverse grid that factors into it, so that's going to be something for the drivers as well to potentially focus on as well. We're wondering, actually, I think at the last sprint race at Lebanon, if Simon Povey was able to do the double, and he didn't quite pull it off, but
Yeah.
who won, of course, if tonight will be the night, because his pace is electric around here.
I mean, to be fair, his form once he's come back has just been unreal, because that second race at Lebanon that you mentioned was the only one he's not won in the last 5 from sprint races and endurance races. Round 7 of the championship, we went to, that was the first one back actually after having Littlin. He came back at Spa, took the win straight off the bat, and then round 8, 2 weeks later, he won the first race at Lebanon. Then he finished 3rd in round 9, and then at Monza and Jerez, he's won both of those as well. He's absolutely on form at the moment. Currently finds himself 3rd in the championship. He's only 36 points off the top spot. And looking at actual attendance, he missed 3 race meetings. That's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. But for anyone that doesn't know, that's just Simon Povey, I'm afraid.
It's just how he is. And I mean, it doesn't matter as well as drivers having to worry about slightly heavier cars, because we have upped the fuel limit, haven't we, for tonight, just to make sure they can definitely go through these sprint races, which is another factor, of course, for the drivers to negotiate about heavy or light car. It doesn't seem to matter for like Sir Simon Povey with his pace. Oh, a little bit too much pace taken through turn 2 by Gilles Gardner, and it's easily done. The corner invites you to step on the pedal nice and early through the corner to try and maximise the run out, and it's just a case of misjudging it just a little bit there. You see Phillip Hopley, dad of my teammate in season 1, Andrew Hopley.
Getting quite a few frame stutters here, by the way. I'm sorry if it's coming across badly on the stream, but getting a few frame stutters here and there. I don't like the look of that, even though I'm his team owner. Flipping heck, Simon. He's just gone another couple of tenths quicker. Simon Povey now on pole position by 0.408 of a second with a 1:34.074. And it's like you said, Ed, as soon as he gets those fresh tyres on, the fuel is burnt down, so he's got the car in a lighter state than he had it earlier. But on fresh rubber, it's just unbelievable.
Obviously with the circuit more rubbered in as well, that can help him out even further. Got now just 2 minutes 40 seconds remaining in the session. Let's not forget as well, drivers aren't able to complete the laps that they're on. Basically when the session's over, that's it.
Yeah, true. Absolutely, yes, because we use the iRacing heat format system on these sprint race nights. As soon as that clock hits 0, that is it. They don't get a chance to finish the lap that they're on like they do when we have our endurance rounds. It's just how it works with iRacing's heat racing. Unfortunately, you can't sort of get it to tick over, or at least get it to sort of linger and wait for drivers to complete their laps. I really do wish there was a setting for that, because I think that's the only fair way to do it, really. But still, the Regenta sim racing drivers, not as impressive as they would have wanted to be coming here to Phillip Island. I'm not sure if they've been a bit too relaxed in the week off, but Taylor Adams and Matt Sly 8th and 9th at the moment for Regenta. Usually these guys are, well, at least 2 of the cars are the top 5, aren't they, Ed? So clearly not gelling with this circuit as much as they would have wanted tonight, and they're nearly, well, they're both very close together on the grid, actually. 2 thousandths between them. 8 tenths of a second off Simon Povey, who, please don't, Simon. He's done it again. He's done a 1:34.059. Goes even quicker. It may only be a couple of thousandths, but it's just the fact that he's got that consistency is just vile.
Yeah, but on the point of what you mentioned about the Regenta sim racing drivers, while they're not doing as well in qualifying, their practice times were looking very nice, weren't they? I think it was Taylor Adams, or was it, I think it was Matt Slight actually, who was, I think, just about half a tenth off of Simon Povey's time in that session. So he's got a lot of pace in the tank. It's just trying to unlock it on the one lap they get, and he won't be able to improve any further from this. So he needs to hope he's going to get a little bit higher up the order. He doesn't, and with time left in the session, he won't be able to get any higher. 9th position. Really disappointing from Matt Slight, especially considering his championship rival Niels Kor all the way up into 3rd position. It might help him slightly that you only get 1 point per position in these sprint races, so it isn't going to hurt him as significantly, but still, that is a big blow at this stage of the championship.
It really is. He needs to do everything he can to close in on Niels Kor in the BMW, and that is not going to cut the mustard, to be fair to him. So he might try and use the sort of format to his advantage, though, because if they do finish in 8th and 9th places, then they'll be 2nd and 3rd on the grid for race 2. But you can never really sandbag enough to do that properly, can you, in a championship like this that is so close all the time?
Yeah, you can't afford any sort of slip up. This is the time where you need to be making up the ground, not losing out. And with Niels Kor, he doesn't improve on his time, but stays on the front of the 2nd row of the grid. And what a grid it is, Chaz. Of course, it's Simon Pogge on pole position, but Danny Lee alongside him. We haven't seen these two battle yet, so it's going to be interesting.
It really will be. Let's have a look at the grid then for round 12 of the championship. Simon Povey for Spontex CDM Esports Pink starts on pole position. Danny Lee on the front row alongside him for the Danny Lee Pro Simrig team. Niels Kor and Mike Murphy make it an all BMW 2nd row. Fantastic qualifying that by Mike. With James Holman and Dominic Brennan, RD Sim Sport and Spontex CDM Esports on row 3. Then it's Dean Powell and Taylor Adams on row 4 ahead of Taylor's teammate. I had 50% chance of getting it right. Matt Slight in 9th with Ben Chalcraft complete in the top 10. Christopher Smith is 11th with Dennis Van Beelen in 12th position. They're followed by Rob Sharp and John Roberts up there in 14th place for Boosted Motorsport. Then it's Drew Fletcher and Stephen Burns for Win It Up In It Racing, with Paul Goffin and Stephen's teammate Kyle Ridley just behind in 18th. Following them is Ralph Mayer in 19th place ahead of Toby Johns. Then we have Kim Such and Ryan Penny on the 11th row of the grid. Following them, Martin Kenyon in car number 8 with Philip Hopley alongside him. And then we have Mark Johnson 25th, Gilles Gardner in 26th, and Andy Marston starting the race in 26th position. So it looks like they're going to be doing a full formation lap here at Phillip Island. So I was expecting them to do the short lap, which is why I sort of hurried through the grid a little bit. But they're not quite getting going yet. Ryan Penny is the driver that hasn't filled a spot on the grid. You can see, no, Chaz, that way. A little space on the grid there, just behind Toby Johns. Ryan will line up alongside his teammate Kim Such. Although I say teammate, stablemate more is the proper word for it. He's just going to pop up there, because it's the Oris Racing Green and Oris Racing Yellow team that are side by side there, but on the outside the liveries look exactly the same. So, key parts of this circuit, Ed. Turn 1, big commitment corner. Turn 2, very heavy braking zone while also trying to rotate the car. But as we saw in qualifying, you can't overdo it on the exit either, because it's a blind exit, isn't it? Much like one of the corners at the end of the lap as well. You've got to just be able to judge it and not take too much risk.
Yeah, so could be intriguing Danny Lee around the outside through turn 1, but potentially getting the inside through turn 2. Could see him into the lead, depending on the start Simon Povey gets in this race. Got a little while for the drivers to go around the circuit, so we can wonder, Chaz, about the way the race is going to go. Obviously, the way they're going to approach it, with it being just the sprint races, not the endurance. Do you reckon that maybe Danny Lee is going to settle for 2nd place, or is he going to see the chance for his first race victory of the season and go for it and maybe ignore a potential championship implication?
I think the latter. I think at this point he will just go for it based on the fact that he's right up there in 2nd place. He's 7th in the championship at the moment. He's only a few points ahead of Dominic Brennan. He's actually behind this guy that we ride on board with now. Kyle Ridley is 6th in the championship at present. Doing really, really well is Kyle. He's having a good old run of it. But there's not been a lot of change in the championship since last time, actually. It's been so Simon Povey dominated in recent times, basically, with the race victories and podiums that he's had along the way. We do hope that Kyle has a good race and, well, a good pair of races tonight at his home circuit. John Roberts went well in qualifying, as mentioned before as well. He's just outside of the top 10 at present, as Martin Kenyon has just had some sort of drama there. What on earth has happened to Martin? Let's have a ganders. Not sure if he's had a wheel disconnect or his monitor's gone or something, but Pulls over and jumps straight back to the pits, unfortunately, so Martin Kenyon will not see the start of this race. Nils Kaur is in a good position here though as well, isn't he, Ed? Sat in third place right behind Simon Povey and Danny Lee, who will be fighting from the get-go.
Yeah, because he can see exactly where Simon goes, he might be able to get the jump on Danny Lee. Danny's going to have to looking to his right and won't be able to perfectly judge at the moment where Simon Povey steps on the loud pedal and gets this race underway. So that does give a little bit of a window of opportunity for Nils Kaur in his BMW to try and get the upper hand.
Well, here we go then. The first of the two races this evening about to get underway. 20 minutes for the sprint race to begin, and then 30 minutes for the second race of the night with the reverse grid. Simon is trying to catch people out here by weaving. He gets on the loud pedal, and round number 12 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge gets underway, and what a launch that was by Simon Povey. He's absolutely left them for dead. Barney's waving his flag in the way. Nils Kaur has gone up into second place already ahead of Danny Lee. Look at Mike Murphy in the mix there as well, just in the middle of all that. The two Regenta cars are a little bit further back. Mike Murphy cuts across the front of James Holman, but yeah, just as expected, Ed. Really, really clever stuff by Nils Kaur. Waited for Simon to go. He's managed to catch out Danny Lee, and he's gained a place immediately. Let's see if there's any shenanigans further down the order. It looks like everybody's keeping it nice and tidy, actually. Martin Kenyon has got going, which is good news, but everybody through the first couple of corners cleanly.
It's good to see. Like you say, that was a wonderful jump at the start. There is looking at the inside. Danny
throwing
Lee,
it in.
he tried to go for it to throw off Nils Kaur, but didn't quite work out for him on that occasion. But you can see he's really up for it at this stage. He's not too disheartened by losing out at this early stage. He's very eager to try and get back up into second place and to now chase down Simon Povey. But the two can't risk battling too much unless they let that McLaren disappear off into the distance.
I think he's almost accepting the inevitable, really, to be fair. I think he knows that Simon's going to disappear over the horizon anyway, so he's thinking, stuff it. I'm just going to battle for second place as hard as I can. Mike Murphy has done really well at the start here and stayed where he was. Dean Powell, actually, just behind him, has gained 2 places. James Holman has dropped 2, and Dominic Brennan has sat in the middle between them. Martin Kenyon has unfortunately gone back to the pits, so clearly a bit of a terminal issue for him to begin the evening. Dennis Van Beelen has gained 2 places from his start as well. He's actually now pressurising. Matt Slight in the McLaren. McLaren really good in a straight line there. Matt's got one hell of a run. Dennis just staying with him with the BMW. They do say it's the fastest car in a straight line, but it's only that sort of final 5% of the straight, isn't it, where it gains a little bit.
It is just, say, those little bits here and there. Very close to the rear end. Matt Slight, Dennis Van Beelen. Struggling though around this corner. You can see when you get right behind a car, you don't really have a whole lot of options other than just stick there and just settle for second best and try and get maybe a different area of the circuit. And watch now, Toby Johns currently up into 19th place. Ralph Meyer for company behind, and Paul Goffin just up ahead in the Porsche.
Great stream of cars, isn't it? It's just solid wonderful. And consistent all the way through. It's great.
2 RS Racing green cars, or RS Racing green, RS Racing yellow. Ralph Meyer, Ryan Penny were together there. But Mike Murphy, what a good start he's had to this race. Obviously his qualifying performance was brilliant, but even now it's just a very, very good job to keep Dean Powell at bay.
And he's got a front row seat for the battle in front of him as well. Danny Lee, as we've seen, will not back off from a fight with anybody. He's a very flamboyant driver, really exciting to watch. We've seen him do the sort of Danny Lee fake here and there, looking down the inside. He actually released a video just the other day of taking... I can't remember who it was he was overtaking, but actually no, I don't even think he mentioned it in the video. But it was in the Ferrari 488 GT3s, and he was going down the Kemmel Straight towards Le Combe at Spa. And he was just talking about the fact that he broke early, gave himself a bit of a gap, you know, dived down the inside and made a really, really aggressive move. And we've seen him do that as a fake so many times this season, but it just really, really made me giggle, because obviously we've seen him try the fake version of it, and now he's actually done it and put it in a video, which is really cool to see. Nils Kaur will not be appreciating this pressure though, will he? Because Simon Povey is already 1.9 seconds clear, which is just disgusting, while Nils Kaur has to try and fend off this pesky Aston Martin, which it's good to see actually doing well, I must say.
Of course, Nils doesn't have to worry too much about that in behind. It is the McLaren of Taylor Adams that I think will be his main focus. Is again the little fake from Dean Powell is up into Mike Murphy, up ahead of him into 4th place. So now it's the two Danny Lee Pro Simrad cars up together, sharing the same bit of circuit. And that's going to be intriguing to see now how they interplay, because Dean's had a great start to this race so far. And looks to be the quicker driver, just based on the pace he's covered up through the field.
Yeah, it's great stuff, isn't it? Dean Powell doing a really solid job now, 3rd and 4th for those guys. They had a really strong start to their campaign as well. Just had a couple of unlucky results here and there. I think maybe some pit lane speed penalties, I think it was, for Dean Powell earlier in the season as well, and just the odd incident here and there when they were battling hard. So, you know, he's not had the easiest of rides. As we have the two Win It or Bin It Racing BMWs on screen now, Kyle Ridley's gained 2 places from where he started in this one, up into 16th position. 15.25 minutes left of the race here in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge from Phillip Island. Another quick mention to our wonderful series sponsors, Oris Digital Crockery Direct, Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Bespoke Shelters. Really do appreciate the support from them to help put this championship on, and obviously get it broadcasted as well by yours truly and Ed May. But great start to the race here, really tidy. The only driver we've had out of the race, well, he's not even out of the race actually, Martin Kenyon's getting going yet again in the Aston, so hopefully that's the end of his technical woes. We'll have to wait and see. But everybody's still running in that case, Ed. Great start.
Yeah, very, very good start at this moment in time. It's been a nice, clean getaway for everyone, which is what we want to see, especially in these sprint races where sometimes the drivers get a little bit too over-eager in battling away because they know they don't have the most amount of time to get those moves made. But good to see the cooler heads prevailing at least in the first race. Maybe not in the second race, where you know the drivers don't have a whole lot else to worry about after the evening. So we'll see how that goes. But for now, as I say, very good. All the drivers are currently out on the circuit. Christopher Smith there, just up ahead of Ben Chalcraft. All right start so far for Christopher Smith, just outside the top 10. You can see Dennis Van Beelen just ahead of him. I think Nils Corradini, that battle started to chill out for now. So we're going to be focusing on the sort of midfield battles at this moment in time. Kyle Ridley and Stephen Burns, the two teammates from complete opposite ends of the planet, 15th and 16th. And very nice for Kyle Ridley, actually up 3 positions. His home circuit, the only driver that's gained the same amount is Dean Powell, up 3 places into 4th. So good start for those two.
We ride on board now with Taylor Adams, 2nd in the championship at the moment. Taylor 8th in this race, chasing down Dominic Brennan. Now Dom has had a few connection issues of late, so the car's been blinking around a lot. Seems stable-ish for now, touch wood. But Taylor is trying everything he can to chase him. It's actually a really close top 10 as well at the moment. Because even if you go back to Dennis Van Beelen, he's 1.7 seconds off these guys. But then it's only 3 seconds to Nils Core ahead. So 2nd all the way down to 9th is separated by less than 5 seconds right now, which is very, very close. You can see Taylor gets a great run through the hairpin, but he's got nowhere to go. That's the thing. He can't go around the outside of Dominic Brennan there. He's quite lucky that he's got his teammate behind him. But these hairpins are too smooth and long for it to be a cutback opportunity, aren't they, Ed? It's not like a type Macau style hairpin where you can just cut straight back across a sharp line. They're all really smooth, although he's actually throwing it down the inside as they go up over the top of the hill. Great opportunism that by Taylor Adams. He saw a gap, he forced the door open, and that is exactly the sort of boisterous racing. It's not even boisterous, but just on it racing that he needs to pull off to get these points back in the championship.
Yeah, he's very switched on to what's going on, sees the opportunity, doesn't have second thoughts, goes for it, commits, and that's what you need to do in those situations. If you sort of half-ask, look the move up the inside, then maybe it's not going to work out, so you need to be committed and let the driver know that you're coming up on the inside and give him sort of time to afford you that space. So lovely stuff there by Taylor. I'm just going to focus on catching the cars ahead. James Holman and Mike Murphy were in their own little battle.
I was just about to say, actually.
Position.
Yeah,
it's a nice
like,
close fight as well, actually, isn't it,
yeah,
between Mike Murphy and James Holman. If the two of them battle like this, that could potentially slow them down into the McLaren's clutches, gaining a few tenths there as Taylor Adams just in the background. So currently working out for him. You can see that the BMW just accelerates so well out of the corners, though.
Kyle Ridley has been off the road, unfortunately. There's been a drama for Kyle. What has happened here? He's cutting across the inside of the circuit and... oh. Whoa, that is a strange one. What on earth has gone on there?
Looks like some potential hardware failure. He's already slowing it down, and then I think maybe the screen cuts off some... oh. That is a very weird.
What
He
is...
shifts down and then...
Yeah, it shifts down and then floors it. That's such a shame for Kyle Ridley. His home race here in Australia. Devastating stuff. It's not like a hardware failure like we've seen before, where suddenly the wheel goes full left or full right, or
something with the pedals
throttle,
potentially.
Yeah, he was still steering and still changing gear, and then the throttle seemed to randomly spike for a bit, and then the car just sort of spun to a stop. Luckily, it didn't hit anybody, so it didn't affect anybody else's race, but it's a shame for it to happen to the one driver whose home race it is.
Yeah, not Kyle Ridley's evening, unfortunately, but there is still another race to go if he can get those gremlins sorted out. He'll be up there for the second race. Still got 10 minutes to go in this, though, the first of the evening. Simon Povey with a almost 4-second lead to Nils Kaur and Danny Lee. Nils Kaur closing in, or actually being closed in on by Danny Lee once more, so that battle could be erupting very soon. In fact, I think the two are pretty much nose to tail now. Second and third, and they are. Look at them pushing him along. Goes Danny Lee through the final sector. This isn't the first sector. Sorry, I thought it was the down, but no, this is through the first sector, and he's really trying everything at this moment to get the better. And maybe the message has been given to Dean Powell just to not put the pressure on Danny, let him do his business, and if he can't get through, then they'll swap over.
Well, I tell you what, Dean Powell is going to be playing the ultimate rear gunner right now with these guys behind him. Mike Murphy going well, James Holman as well, hoping to put pressure on. Then they've actually got 1.4 seconds back to Taylor Adams, so they've got a decent gap at least. But yeah, Danny Lee is, I mean, to be fair, the body language of that car says, I'm going to get past you at some point, Nils. I am going to go by. And it's lovely to see the Aston actually back on form again. Apparently in the recent update, it did get a bit of a bump in terms of performance, if I remember rightly. Can't remember where I saw that, but still.
Yeah, it's
don't know how vouched that can be, you know.
Again, he's trying to close in on Nils Kaur, and he's going to get a good run always through the first couple of corners. Seems to be where Danny Lee closes up to Nils Kaur, but then can't seem to make the move stick on the third corner. So we're going to see through here now just the attitude of that Aston Martin. It seems to be much more comfortable through those first couple of corners. Also, just on the exit, nice and stable platform for him. He's going to maybe look to the inside through the next corner. He's going to go for it. Here we go, up the inside, but braking too early to make the move stick.
It's great pressure though, and this is the thing. I think we've seen a lot of this from Danny Lee this season. He will sit behind the other driver and not necessarily make the move every single corner, but he'll put enough pressure on that the other driver is the one to make the mistake and just outbrake himself that one time, or he'll do that many fakes or that many little looks to the inside that the driver in front will think, oh, he's not actually going to go for it, and then when he does go for it, it catches you off guard. It's real long-term mind games by Danny Lee, and it's great entertainment. It really is. He's been, like I say, not to blow too much smoke up his backside, but he's been an absolutely awesome addition to this series, and so to his teammate Dean Powell as well. And that's what we love about this season on season. You know, we've got the Regenta guys with us this season, Minardi Simsport as well. Oris Racing have come back with another team, and even the Win It or Bin It Racing guys. You know, there's always new drivers and teams coming into this series, and there's never a negative output from it. It's always just getting better and better all the time, and more competitive. You know, the drivers at the front end of the field sometimes are saying, I don't know how I ended up here. It's so difficult to be one of the quickest guys in this series.
Yes. Very excited just to see them all battling out now. James Holman with his sights set on Dean Powell. And look at that, up the inside. He sees a little bit of a gap left. It's not the biggest gap in the world, just about a Mercedes-sized space for him to find his car into, and now up into fourth place. James Holman is having a lovely little charge, but now what's that going to do to Danny Lee? Well, he's got the message. He's going to try and go around the outside.
He's got too deep.
Nils Kaur, but he's just going to struggle to get the power down on the exit. Does to again set one for third position, but I think he realises now that it's now or never, because soon he's going to be worrying about a threat from behind, not just the car out in front.
Yeah, James Holman, multiple race winner in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge and in the Winter Tour as well. He's not had the easiest of seasons so far. He's not had all the time in the world to practice either, but he's one of the only Mercedes that has been a real consistent front runner, and he's certainly been putting his best efforts in with this car. And he continues to push on now and try and catch up with Danny Lee and Nils Court. But right at the front, Mr. Povey just continues to just extend his lead. He just gets faster and faster. He was 0.3 of a second quicker than Nils Court last time out, with a 34.5. What time was that? 1:34.6. Nils Court does a 1:34.9 this time.
To be fair, that 1:34.9 is actually quite impressive by Nils Court, considering he's been having to battle away with Danny Lee. So the gap is always going to grow, isn't it? Because those two are just locked in a titanic battle, but still.
Yeah.
Good pace from the guys second and third. They're just fighting amongst each other and not able to keep up with Simon in front who's got clear track.
Christopher Smith leading this little BMW trio here with Dennis Van Beelen and Ben Chalcraft, get it right, Chaz, just behind. Rob Sharp having a bit of a lonely race as well. He's in 13th position at the present moment, and he's got a second to the guys ahead of him, then 2.5 to the guys behind. Kyle Ridley is back on the circuit, by the way. He's getting going again, so I'm not quite sure what the issue was. We'll wait and see whether we can hear from him a little bit later. But it's a shame that it's gone that way, really. Like I said before, it's the only guy whose home race it is at the moment.
It's been very interesting, even so far, isn't it, with the little cagey battles. We've got 5 minutes to go still in this race. As Van Beelen in the middle of these BMWs. Very close to Christopher Smith. Is there an avenue up the inside? There could have been if he was late enough on the brakes. But maybe not if he hits him.
Yeah, I think that just caught Chris out a little bit there. And, more than anybody, it caught Dennis Van Beelen out. Now Ben Chalcraft's thinking, no, don't do that, Dennis. Just crack on. I think he'll want Dennis to close back up to Chris now. He won't want to make a move straight off the bat. He'll want to just get on with it and be like, right, let's just make this a trio again. Just try and push him forward. He might even bump draft him here, but no, look, Dennis Van Beelen goes defensive on the inside. Chalcraft's thought, you know what, we'll go with it. We'll go all the way around the outside now. You can sometimes make it work at turn one when drivers on the inside sort of give way and they're a little bit overly cautious about how much room they're giving you, but it doesn't work out that way this time round for Ben Chalcraft. Wide on the exit though, Dennis Van Beelen, but again, it's one of those corners where it looks like everybody's going to go flying off the circuit, but with the way it opens up, it just somehow they cling to the edge of the track right on the white line, although Chalcraft's fed up of clinging to the back of Dennis Van Beelen's Beamer, tries to go in as hard as he can in the hairpin, and nope, he's gone straight on, and Rob Sharp is going to pick up a freebie as a result. Thank you very much, he says.
Lovely battle there. That's Van Beelen losing out on occasion there. Ben Chalcraft struggling a little now after a good start to the race. It's just not quite going his way. Still though, drivers are battling around in those positions because it can make a big difference, can't you, in the second race?
Absolutely. Let's not forget that Christopher Smith, where he is right now, would be pole position for race 2 of the night. Matt Slight would start on the front row with him. Taylor Adams would be a good few positions ahead of any of his championship rivals, i.e. Nils Court and Simon Povey, who currently lead the race. Simon's just crossed the line now, 2.5 minutes left on the clock, so there'll be this lap and then one more for race 1 of the evening. And then we'll have just a couple of minutes between the two, have a quick break, and then we'll be back at it again for half an hour with the top 10 on the grid reversed. Everyone else will remain in the same order. But the gloves come off a little bit, don't they, Ed, in the second race of the night? It's almost like if people have felt a bit hard done by in race 1, they know it's their last chance to grab some more points from the evening's racing.
Yeah, it's just about trying to find every last point you can in these races, especially as we get towards the business end of the season. There's going to be no more break. It's just race after race after race until the end of the season. Ryan Penny and Kim Such. It's lovely to see those two RS Racing cars, isn't it, out on circuit together. A lovely orange Jägermeister livery.
Well, there's a funny story behind that, isn't there, actually? Because Pete Thickett has always done the for the Scuderia Chicken House team. He's always done the fancy liveries on the cars, like a bit of a throwback. And because he was driving the BMW this season, he was actually going to run the Jägermeister livery, wasn't he? And then last minute, RS Racing said, "Oh look, this is our livery for the season," and it happened to be the same livery. So then Pete went and did the Tic Tac livery just with eggs all over it. We've not seen Pete for a number of rounds now, unfortunately. And the last time we had him on circuit with us was round 7 of the championship at Spa-Francorchamps but we've not had new drivers come into the series because as part of the rule book, once we get into the second half of the campaign, that's when we don't accept new drivers, basically, after round 6. Just because if there's more championship implications late on in the season, we don't want sort of new drivers to come in and change the dynamic that we've had all season long. So, yeah, we tend to just have a bit of a shuffle in the first half of the campaign. There's not been any shuffling going on here, though, has there, for Simon Povey, Ed? What a fantastic, fantastic race he's had at the moment. Yet again, 5.5 seconds clear of the likes of Nils Kor and Danny Lee. I hate to say it, but I think these sprint race formats suit him even better than the endurance racing.
Yeah, he doesn't have to let off the pace, have to worry about managing the race. It's just him hot lapping, and we know how quick he is in qualifying. It's the strongest sort of suit, and now all of a sudden he is, I'm really comfortable out at this moment in time. As I think Taylor Adams and Dominic Brennan were having a little bit of a battle there, just in the closing stages of the race. Taylor Adams just hanging on ahead of Dominic. Matt Slight as well in the picture are the two Regenta Sim Racing cars going to gang up on the lone Spontec CDM Esports Porsche, potentially so, as we get towards the final sector of the lap.
Yeah, unfortunately Gary Tall not here for this round of the championship. He's actually dislocated his thumb as Ryan Penny has gone off the circuit. He's had a bit of a drama after battling earlier on, but around the final corner to take what is going to be his 5th race victory in 6 races. Hands together once again for Simon Povey for Spontec CDM Esports Pink. What a drive that is to start his night off. Amazing form. 5.8 seconds to the good by the time he crosses the line. Nils Kor finishes in 2nd place, and what a fight that was with Danny Lee. Boy, he put the pressure on all the way through that. Dean Powell finishes ahead of Mike Murphy, and then Taylor Adams just beats Dominic Brennan and Matt Slight to the line. Christopher Smith finishes in an all-important 10th position, which will give him pole position for race 2. And we'll look back and see any of the closer battles down the field here. Drew Fletcher there just ahead of Ralph Mayer, and then Kim Such just behind Toby Johns, and then Mark Johnson and Ryan Penny close together just behind that. But a very tidy race to start the evening off, wasn't it?
Yeah, very nice and clean, which is what you like to see, of course. Good battling as well up towards the front of the field between Nils Kor and Danny Lee. Sure, Danny Lee didn't get the move made, but Nils was very resolute in his defence and didn't really have to do too much. Just had some little looks at the sun, but didn't buckle under the pressure, which I think was Danny's intent. But now, Simon Povey's got a lot of work to do, starting from 10th place in the second race. Drivers have a little while to get warmed up, though, don't they, Chaz, to get acclimatised to the track conditions for that second race.
Yeah, any good championship organiser would know how long the warm-up session is, but if you could very quickly...
And of course, and I'm going to just, beat you to it, Chaz, because I know you know, it's 10 minutes.
Is it 10?
It is a 10-minute warm-up.
Am I an idiot? I
I
thought
don't
it
know
was 5.
what you... And I like your feigned surprise, because you knew that it was 10.
No, I didn't. I thought it was 5.
Oh, Chaz, I'm trying to help you here, buddy.
Yeah, it's 10 minutes, everybody.
10 minutes,
yeah, I knew that. What we'll do is have a quick look at the results of race 1 while the drivers have their warm-up session. And we have Simon Povey taking the win almost by 5.9 seconds in the end. What a fantastic drive. Nils Kor and Danny Lee complete the podium. That's 3 different manufacturers in the top 3 spots, with James Holman and Dean Powell 4th and 5th. Mike Murphy finishes the race in 6th position, ahead of Taylor Adams, Dominic Brennan, Matt Slight and Christopher Smith, and they will be all reversed on the grid for race 2. Next up was Dennis Van Beelen in 11th place with Rob Sharp and Ben Chalcraft. Stephen Burns was 14th with John Roberts in 15th place. Paul Goffin 16th ahead of Drew Fletcher and Ralph Meyer, with Toby Johns and Kim Such completing the top 20. Then it was Philip Hopley and Mark Johnson ahead of Ryan Penny, Jill Gardner and Andy Marston, the last car on the lead lap. Kyle Ridley was classified but 3 laps down, same too with Martin Kenyon 4 laps down after his hardware issues earlier on. So what we'll do for just a couple of minutes then, everybody, while the session ticks over and the drivers have their 10-minute warm-up, we're just going to have a quick break here on Chaz Draycott Media, and we'll be right back with you, if I can get my words out anyway, very, very soon. We'll see you in a few. Hello again, everybody. Chaz, Draycott and Ed May here for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. We're here for round 13 of the championship from Phillip Island in Australia. We had a really tidy and clean, not quite boring first race, Ed, but everyone was very well behaved, weren't they, compared to how we've seen them before, especially when we came here for the Winter Tour just a few months ago. It was very, very tame.
It certainly was. It's been very exciting though, hasn't it, just to see the way the drivers have been able to navigate this circuit, especially the first race of the evening. But in the second race, I think we'll expect a little bit more dramatic action, maybe a few more incidents, because
bit of pizzazz.
Everyone seemed to be on their best behaviour for that first race, which, to be fair, I'm not going to complain about. Was nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. We had a bit of an argy-bargy time, you could say, in the Winter Tour. I know the German promoters of the European Truck Racing Championship always ask me, what does argy-bargy mean? And, well, I'm sure we can show them some of that after this second race, because we have the top 10 on the grid reversed for this one, which will mean that Simon Povey starts on 10th spot on the grid, and he'll have Nils Kaur alongside him on that 5th row, yet in front of him, well, theoretically in front of him, obviously he'll be alongside him for the rolling start. But it will be Christopher Smith in the BMW, the RD SimSport machine that we see here, that will start on the front row. I think Chris actually had a really good run at Lebanon as well, didn't he? Looking back, he finished second, didn't he, in the second race of the night? Because it was Nils Kaur won that one, and then Christopher Smith was second with Simon Povey third. So he's another one of them, like Kyle Ridley has been up to now anyway, that sort of used the format to their advantage, haven't they? There's a few drivers that really know how to play the game with it. It's just pure consistency.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see Kyle Ridley out there for this second race. I haven't actually seen him go onto the circuit in the warm-up.
He is in the pits.
I think he's still in the session as well, so hopefully he's been able to bodge it and fix it back together.
He's done well. He was back out actually for the final lap of the race. He did get back out on circuit, and he's done just less than a lap here right now. Actually, he's basically circled all the way around and just gone back into the pits. So he's at least been getting the car moving again, which is good to see. But it's a half-hour second race as opposed to the 20 minutes of the first one. But same format, just straight-up sprint racing with no pit stops, no strategy to worry about. The fuel limit in the sprint race nights, anyway, is up to 60% compared to our usual 40% that we run in the endurance races, which sort of initiates the pit stops for the drivers and forces them to come in and get new fuel and tyres and all that lovely stuff for the second phases of the race. Everyone's going to now line up on the grid, and it's a good chance to give a quick shout to our championship sponsors of Oris Digital, Crockery Direct, Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Bespoke Shelters as well. The wonderful people behind that, Heinz Mayer and Ralph Mayer, Drew Fletcher as well at Derbyshire Holiday Homes, and father of Toby Johns, who races in the championship, Alex Johns at Bespoke Shelters. Alex actually got involved in the CDM Dirt Legends Speedway Super League as well, which he had a lot of fun in, hoping to do another season of that. But now it's time for the second race of the night, Ed, and to be fair, I'd say these ones are a little bit harder to call, aren't they? Because there's some drivers that will really hold their ground at the front of the field, and there's other drivers that will try and come back through from inside that top 10 and really have to get their elbows out a bit.
Yes, and we have had a change on the grid, actually. You'll notice that there's not a car in third position, and that is Dominic Brennan. He's unfortunately pulled out of this second race, basically saying that his connection is just not stable enough to go out on the circuit and race in close proximity to all the other drivers, just in case there's like netcode incidents. So it's very selfless from Dominic to do that, and we'll hope that his internet sorts itself out for the final few rounds of the season.
Yeah, it's like you say, really selfless stuff. That good sportsmanship from Dominic Brennan. A shame that we won't have the Porsche on the grid from third place, but I'm sure that he'll still enjoy watching if the connection's good enough to stream the actual broadcast. But looking at the grid itself, it's Christopher Smith on pole position, Matt Slight alongside him. Both of them could well easily win this race, to be fair. Taylor Adams as well, starting effectively third on the grid from the fourth slot. He is definitely going to be up there in the fight with those guys, so long as he doesn't spin like he did at Lebanon. Not that I'm having a dig. Mike Murphy in fifth place with Dean Powell alongside him on row 3, followed by James Holman and Danny Lee. Those two would be great to watch scrapping as well from the fourth row. And then, as always, together, it's Nils Kaur and Simon Povey. The battle goes on. Dennis Van Beelen starts in 11th place with Rob Sharp on the 6th row with him. Then it's Ben Chalcraft and Stephen Burns on row 7. Next up, John Roberts and Paul Goffin, with Drew Fletcher and Ralph Meyer on the 9th row. Toby Johns and Kim Such complete the top 20. I love this shot, actually, where you can just see the blurred images of the cars in the background making their way down towards the hairpin. Philip Hopley will start 21st with Mark Johnson 22nd. Ryan Penny in the Oris Racing yellow Porsche is 23rd, ahead of Gilles Gardner, with Andrew Marston and Kyle Ridley making it row 13 of the grid. Martin Kenyon will line up in 27th. So Christopher Smith, a lot of pressure here, Ed, but he's been a front runner in the championship for quite a while now. He's been really good at carrying the pace at the front end of the field, sticking with the real big guns of the championship. So it's well in his rights to take a win here, isn't he? As long as he keeps it tidy and the battles go on behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. Although he will have, of course, Matt Slight and Taylor Adams chasing him down. And we know that Taylor Adams definitely needs to get that race victory under his belt to get his championship back on track. So we'll see if that will be the case, if maybe his teammate Matt can help him out to get there as well. It's going to be the two McLarens versus the two BMWs. BMWs on the right side, McLarens on the left. What battle we'll have into turn one.
We'll have to see how these guys behave themselves. But it's BMW versus McLaren on the front row, BMW versus McLaren on the second row, and then it's the, I was going to say all German third row. It effectively is, because it's an Aston Martin and a Mercedes. It's basically German cars, isn't it? Then it's Aston and Beamer on the fourth row, Simon Povey and Rob Sharp apparently at the moment making up the next row, but I think there's a bit of jumbling going on while everybody makes their way to the start. Christopher Smith on the right hand side, now controlling the pace, gets his foot down around 13 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, gets underway, and just like Simon Povey did in the first race, the pole sitter has made an absolute belter of a getaway. Taylor Adams is now 3 wide with Mike Murphy, and Dean Powell on his left hand side. He comes across the front of Mike Murphy, nearly chops the nose off the BMW. I think there was a tiny bit of a touch as they headed down towards turn one. That's terrifying territory for those guys to make contact on the way into there. Nils Kors on the inside line there with Danny Lee on his outside. Dennis Van Beelen wants a piece of it, and Mike Murphy's gone off. Mike Murphy's run 2 wide into turn 2, tries to recover without cutting back across the circuit, and there's been drama further back. Paul Goffin off on the inside of the circuit. I think another driver that joined him there was potentially Toby Johns. Yeah, Toby's had a drama, but great stuff by Christopher Smith. He's got
Dean Powell. He's up in the second.
Oh no, there's contact. Dean Powell's around Taylor Adams, and both the Regenta cars are in that. Matt Slight involved as well. That is nightmare fuel.
No.
Was that James Holman? That's you again, Ed. That is your commentator's curse yet again. You literally say his name and the guy gets hit by lightning. I'd never want to go on a day out with you. James Holman, though, I think was the one that started that. I think he went to look down the inside of all of them and just headbutted the two McLarens into each other.
Dearie me. Well, that makes Simon Povey's job a lot easier if he wants to get the race victory here. That's several cars taken out in one fell swoop, and it was just a little look at the inside. Again, it was closed off by Matt Slight. I'm not sure if it was closed off a little bit too late. There was a gap there, and I think he moves over to the right-hand side. So you see the gap there. He's committing now to it, and there's a slight switch to the right. Not a big one, but potentially enough to instigate the contact. It makes it look worse, I think, from James Holman being a bit too late on the brakes, but there is a little tiny move to the right that does, I think, exacerbate the contact.
Oh no!
Kim Such going across the circuit.
That was
hopefully he's going to stay over onto the left-hand side of the circuit, which he does. That could have easily catapulted across the cars going at high speed and been a very nasty incident. So thankfully Kim Such is the only driver that gets involved in that incident, and he should be able to get to the pits and get that repaired. But for now, Christopher Smith, good start to the race. Maybe the start he was hoping for, as Matt Slight again struggling now after the incident earlier on in the race. Is there potentially damage to the car that he's just having to put up with for the moment, all the way down in 25th position. We'll have a look here. Very brave into turn one, gets a massive snap, a little bit too much pace potentially for the McLaren to handle, and then takes him out into the gravel.
Mike Murphy's race has just gone from bad to worse. He's just had more contact, and he's off of the inside line on the exit of the hairpin. That's Dean Powell just going past him in the Aston Martin. He's now down into 18th place. Holman and... Actually, sorry, no, it's not even Holman. It's Danny Lee and Nils Kors battling away here. These guys have had a really solid start. The top three from race one have got Simon Povey with them as well. Dennis Van Beelen, Kyle Ridley and Martin Kenyon have gained 10 places apiece as well. At the minute, they're having a solid start. Look at that there. Danny Lee just sniffing the back of the BMW with that Aston Martin. And a great opportunistic move.
Simon there.
Yeah, that was
so
awesome,
cheeky.
Cheeky pink Simon Povey absolutely slots the McLaren down the inside. Let's have another look at that again, shall we?
Have a look here. So Simon Povey all the way around the outside knows that Danny's going to get boxed in behind the BMW.
It looked awful from that view. Didn't look like anything happened.
Didn't
Sorry.
Like anything happened at all. But here we go. The two of them now side by side in turn one. Simon Povey carries the momentum, closes the door in Danny Lee's face, and now Danny's going to have to suck it up and go again. It's a shame because he was having such a great battle with Niels Court, but just losing out.
Oh.
Cause big ramifications as the two Aston Martins get a little bit friendly with one another. Dean Powell close to the dirt on the edge of the circuit, then comes to blows with the BMW. He's right in the thick of the action here, down in 18th place after not the start he was hoping for. Seems to be just coming undone. Was he at contact, or did he just have an incident by himself? I can't remember who was caught.
He was in with the two Regenta McLarens.
Was there contact?
Yeah,
Okay.
he got headbutted by the two Regenta McLarens, basically. He'd had a really good start, gained 4 places. And then Holman hit the back of Matt Slight, who then hit Dean Powell and only just clipped his teammate Taylor Adams. Tell you what, these boys don't want to give each other any room at all. Look at this 3 wide now, almost. Mike Murphy thinks better of it, actually. Says, no thanks, gents, you can do that all on your own. As Martin Kenyon tries to fight away with the Danny Lee Pro Sim Rig car. There's still an overlap there. Martin backs out of it, and Dean Powell swoops around the outside. Toby John's trying to take advantage of that as well. But we go further forward in the pack now to second place. Looking back from the Mercedes of James Holman. And he's doing his teammate a favour here because Christopher Smith is now 2.5 seconds clear of the field. But look at the train behind him. He's got Nils Kors, Simon Povey, Danny Lee, Dennis Van Beelen and Ben Chalcraft all within 1.5 seconds. And here comes Povey. That was a cinematic angle, wasn't it, as he pops out of the slipstream down towards turn 1.
Here we go. Nils Kors looking for a little bit of a gap. There's none on the Mercedes. Simon Povey now is he going to try and go for a wider entry into the corner, pick up a later apex and get on the power a touch earlier than the BMW.
Smith's had a drama.
He's going to time it as well. Yeah, Christopher Smith is slow and has been caught up there. His gap has come down from 2.5 seconds to just 0.5. Maybe got a little bit too eager on the throttle as Drew Fletcher's doing a little bit of almost a rallycross jump there back down at the circuit, getting some airtime.
Yeah, Drew's been given the wrong arrival there by ATC. What on earth happened here? He's gone into turn 1, the back end's broken away, and he's going to go way off into the sticks. He's almost going to end up in the sea here. He goes that far off the circuit, nearly ends up in New Zealand, and he decides, yeah, stuff it. That's not the taxiway you were given, Drew. Anyway, James Holman and Nils Kors are so close to making contact there. I thought they already had made contact by the time they came into shot. We told you earlier that the gloves come off in the race too, everybody, and they very much have done. There's contact between Povey and Danny Lee there. Danny actually gets to the inside line, sees a gap. I don't think Simon knew that he was alongside. Dennis Van Beelen now wants a piece of this. And look at that cutback by Danny Lee from the left to the right, round the outside of the BMW. Still doesn't make it work. Dennis Van Beelen was very lucky there not to just get turned around by both drivers in front. That was mighty, mighty scary stuff there. So close. But they continue on. I've been told the bit rate for the stream has just gone to pot for a minute. I'm not quite sure what on earth's gone on there, everybody, so I do apologise. But wow.
Beaten from pillar to post through that final few sort of corners, isn't he? Every single time they go through that sector, he's always just seemingly coming off second best. This time, though, he does get ahead of Dennis Van Beelen into turn 1, so it's pretty much as they were. Danny Lee behind Simon Povey, chasing down Nils Kors, James Holman and Christopher Smith. James Holman needs to do a little bit more work yet again to give the buffer to his teammate, who's now 7/10 on the road rather than being 5/10 as they were this time last lap.
Yeah, it's been very, very close throughout this entire top 10, really. There's battles going on behind as well. Stephen Burns and Rob Sharp also having a big old battle. Yeah, again, apologies for the drop in bitrate, everybody. Apparently only getting 6 meg up at the moment as opposed to 90, so that's not fantastic. But still, it's enough to at least give us a clean stream based on what I used to stream at, so I'll take that any day of the week. But wow, James Holman still being in second place is almost a bit of a miracle here. And to be fair, Christopher Smith had his own drama, didn't he? Let's have a look back at what happened here, Ed. Well, he's just gone in too hot. Simple as that, hasn't he? Simple as that. Christopher Smith just goes... Yeah, just... It's one of those corners, though, isn't it? Where, like we said, it's a blind exit, so you can't really see what the car's doing until you've got that sort of inside curb in sight, because once you clip that, you get a rough idea of when you can get on the throttle and kick its head in on the exit. But yeah, that's just not worked out very well for him right there, has it?
So James Holman Now doing all he can do to back up the cars in behind, be the rear gunner for his teammate, it seems. Mills caught. He can be quite content as it stands because he's going to be making ground on both Simon Povey and his rival Taylor Adams. He's going to have to, I think, worry about that.
Oh,
So you can
there's
see
Simon.
the McLaren just all the way around the outside. Now, is he going to get the overlap for second corner afterwards? No, he isn't. So he's going to have to, again, stay in behind. But those battles are giving Danny Lee the impetus to maybe try and do to Simon what Simon did to him and box him in behind BMW and take that position back.
Yeah, he's all over the back of him at the moment. He's just trying to be opportunistic, isn't he? Just try and make the most of what he can. You know, as soon as Nils gets caught up behind James Holman, he's there ready to pounce, ready to attack. Again, not a clue what's happened to the bit rate, everybody. I've just literally done a speed test while we're live, which just risked all of it, but I've still done it. We're getting 100 down as, again, Danny Lee leaning on the McLaren. But you know what? That was more opportunistic than we've seen Simon do so far. That was a fantastic, fantastic move. Dean Powell's just had a drama down the hill, and there's Mark Johnson involved, and Mike Murphy is in the wrong place at the wrong time again. Poor Mike Murphy's been battered from pillar to post in this race. I'm jealous.
All of the Danny Lee Pro Silver cars seem to be getting battered from pillar to post. This one doing a little bit better though. Danny Lee at the moment in time, currently in 5th position with. Look at the BMWs on the left-hand side of the screen. They're all up inside the top 10. 5 BMWs in the top 10. It seems like a circuit that's working well for them at this moment in time. There's Van Bielen, Ben Charcraft, and Burns there, all together. As they were, I think, in the first race as well, weren't they? The BMW squadron is still going strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the BMWs have been a great resurgence this season. It's been lovely to watch them doing their thing once again. I'm sorry, by the way, anybody, if we are dropping frames. I'm being told by the software itself that we're not dropping frames, so it should be okay. It's just the quality might be a little bit reduced in terms of what it wants to output. But yeah, fantastic race so far. So lively, so much action up and down the order everywhere we look. And it continues on more and more now because we've still got 19 and a quarter minutes left to go here, Ed, which is quite remarkable, to be fair, because we've still got the length of almost an entire race one yet to go.
So Ben Childcraft now is Australian-inspired livery, isn't he? The loaded curly fries, the cheese and jalapeno, isn't it?
Yeah, nacho cheese and jalapeno flavour this week is Ben Childcraft, apparently.
Very nice. Very nice livery.
It's a great commitment.
Really
great commitment. He actually shared a picture of every livery that he's got planned for the season just last week, and there's so many, as you can imagine, for all the we got 12 race meetings. It's just been awesome to see it. The bit rate is going back to normal now, everybody. It's gone back to where it should be. I think there might be an issue with the server to restream. We're getting 28 meg up now. Well, apparently it's just done it at 40. Thank you. That's way too much. Still, it is what it is. We've had drama back here. Philip Hopley is off the road. Also off is Ryan Penny. So there's been an incident here between these two. I'm not sure if Philip went off first, but it seems to be that the simulator thinks so. Let's have a look. Has he just gone in too hot? He has. Back end comes around. And Ryan Penny's had a separate incident, actually. I did wonder where Ryan was on the screen, to be fair. I thought there might have been a bit of contact between the two of them, but no. They're all good.
So, James Holman now, again, doing what he needs to do to keep the chasing pack at bay. And looking around the outside of Simon Povey. Is he going to get the overlap on the inside through the next corner? No. That door is, again, slammed in his face by Simon. There's Van Bielen just watching and waiting for his moment to strike. What a lovely battle this is, though. A long train of cars, isn't it? All the way from first down towards pretty much 9th position, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, pretty much the entire top 10 in this battle at the moment, except for our race leader, who, to be fair, is just hoping to stay away from this lot. He's hoping that James Holman continues to defend and hold that rear gunner position, which Well, I think Christopher will owe him a few beers for if he can hold on to it, because he's got Nils Kor and Simon Povey behind him initially, two of the drivers that have been easy favourites for the championship since the start. And then, let alone, he's got the fact that he's got Danny Lee in there as well, and Dennis Van Beelen, Ben Chalcraft, multiple drivers that are all potential race winners with this format.
James Holman, he's doing everything he needs to do, but you have to wonder if Christopher Smith is just struggling to break away, but also what he's doing is helping James because he's given the slipstream, and maybe that's why he hasn't pulled away as far as he did at the early phase of the race, because by helping James Holman, he helps himself as well by giving James that extra speed down the straights that he isn't going to be under too much threat into all corners.
Yeah, it's a fantastic race so far, though. All these guys really giving us great entertainment. Christopher Smith leading the way in round 13 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge here from Phillip Island. He's got his teammate James Holman behind in the Mercedes, and he is holding off Nils Kor, Simon Povey and Danny Lee, with Dennis Van Beelen and Ben Chalcraft having their own fight as well in there. Stephen Burns also involved in the scrap. This is GT4 racing at its finest, because these four cars in this little quartet are all different manufacturers as well. We've got the Aston Martin chasing the McLaren, chasing the BMW, chasing the Mercedes. And look, there's the Danny Lee fake down the inside just to try and scare Simon. But look, he's actually scared himself into it there because he's lost a bit of time. Simon's still looking for the inside. You can hear the tyres scrubbing on the Aston though, can't you? It's trying to break away on the way in.
Yeah, it's just different ways all the drivers seem to break the corners. It's wonderful to watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just the little intricacies in the ways that the different cars suit different lines, different approaches to all the corners. As Nils Kor is having, again, a little half look there on James Holman. I don't think it's enough to probably throw a move, but it's more just sort of as insurance from Simon Povey to cover off if that McLaren is going to look up his inside. It doesn't seem to be coming through for now. The driver's just settling into a rhythm as we've gone over the half race distance marker now with 14 minutes and 40 seconds still to go. It's just about navigating this end of the season as safely as possible from Nils Kor. He has his championship advantage and he's going to be extending it as it stands with Taylor Adams down in 11th place, so he doesn't need to make unnecessary risks. It's just about managing risk, which is something that is so important and what makes champions.
It is amazing to watch, though, all these guys so close together. And let's not forget, as you rightly mentioned, Ed, we're only just getting into the second half of the race, but between each of these positions there's only one extra championship point. So how many of these drivers are sat there because they want to be and they don't want to take any risks in battling just for the sake of 1 point when they could lose all of them with an incident? But how many of them are actually wanting to take that risk? You know, who's wanting to push past who? I feel like at the moment Povey wants to get past Nils Kor, but Nils Kor doesn't really want to be getting past James Holman because he knows that James could easily catch up with Christopher Smith. Chris has been a little bit inconsistent for his standards and had a little slower lap here and there. He was actually 0.3 of a second slower than Nils Kor on that last lap. So they're staying with Chris at this point. Chris isn't able to break away. Holman really isn't sort of holding these guys up. So it's certainly a unique case, this, with all of these drivers so close together. I mean, if we look at Christopher Smith, top 10, 6 seconds. Less than 6 seconds, really. And John Roberts, bless him, up into the top 10 now. He's doing a really good job. 5 places gained.
Very nice stuff. This is it tends to be his strongest suit, isn't it, John Roberts? It's ability to just have nice, consistent races through the field, up 5 positions. But Kenyon could be on for a very, very good result here. Some good championship points on the cards for him now.
Yeah, his first championship points as well, this would be. And he's gained 13 places from 27th on the grid. Last on the grid after his retirement earlier to actually get up to that spot. So even if Toby Johns catches him and overtakes, and even if Paul Goffin, Ryan Penny and a few others just manage to eke out that gap, or at least eat away at the gap and catch up with him, he'll still score really good points. I mean, if you're going to finish the race in 14th, he says, consulting the rule book, that's 7 championship points for Martin Kenyon. And there are 5 drivers in the championship right now that have less than that, so he'd jump up instantly 5 positions on where he currently is.
It perfectly encapsulates what we were talking about earlier in the championship, isn't it? The reason why we don't have points all the way down to the lowest positions on the grid is because it means that drivers that do score points and that find themselves lower down in the championship can make big gains, so it does prioritise them to really go for those moves and to make the most out of every single point scoring opportunity that presents itself to them.
Yeah, absolutely. In it to win it, so to speak, as Simon Povey's in it to win it, throws it up the inside of Nils Kaur. I really hope what I've just said has not just actually thrown Martin Kenyon off the road, because he's just lost the place to Toby Johns there. He did just go off the track, I'm afraid. Back on, though, and I think he's going to get overtaken here by Paul Goffin, who's looking down the inside, all the way down towards the hairpin, though. Aston Martin remains on the inside line, tries to outbrake him, holds that ideal inside line. I think he's going to get rid of the overlap as well, is Martin Kenyon. Good stuff. Nils Kaur has stayed ahead of Simon Povey in all of this, despite their battle in. He gives a bit of a kiss to the back of the Mercedes. James Holman in front will not appreciate that one. Then again, he's used to Legends racing, so contact is almost inevitable in them things, and especially when you're just pushing each other down a start-finish straight. But Nils Kaur, third place at the moment, right in the thick of this. It's not a place you want to be, really. He's a little bit quicker than James Holman right now. He's putting pressure on him, but he's got Simon Povey behind him, who showed everybody how it is earlier on, didn't he, with that first race result, as Ryan Penny decides to do a bit of reverse hill climb racing.
Yeah, he's really going for it now. It's just about this moment, though, for James Holman, and he's really backing up. You can see that Nils Kaur can take a lot more speed through the corners, but has to back off to not get into the back of James Holman, because it is one of those corners that is struggling to, if you've got a car on your inside line, you can't really get past him through there, just because of how long that outside line is compared to the insiders. Now Nils Kaur fancies a move around the outside. Is he going to keep the overlap for the next corner? No. Simon Povey, though, around the outside. You can take a surprising amount of speed around the outside around this corner, just by the nature of the camber. And Simon's going to try his very best to maintain the overlap onto the exit. Danny Lee's going to see an opportunity now with a poor exit from Simon. Up the hill they go. Danny Lee with the outside line. Oh, there's contact. Did Simon not afford him enough room? He's going to lose out another position, Danny Lee, down into 6th place. Then she's 7th with another BMW hot on his heels.
That's Ben Chalcraft trying to go around the outside. It's certainly spicy for him with the jalapenos on the car. Down the inside he goes. Danny Lee will be gutted with that one. I was just about to say as well, that was a bit of inadvertent commentator's curse that didn't even come out of my mouth that time, Ed. I was going to say, I know whose YouTube channel I'm going to be watching later on, and that's going to be Danny Lee, because he's got the front row seat to the absolute brawl that was going on between Povey, Kaur and Holman. But now finds himself down in 7th place. Let's just have a quick look, shall we, at exactly what happened here. Danny's right up behind these guys. There's almost a touch between Kaur and Povey. Gets on his left-hand side. I'm not sure if Danny just expects the road to open up a little bit more. I think, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to judge that one. I think he expected Simon to be a bit further over to the right-hand side of the circuit, but Simon was trying to open the corner up as much as possible and sort of sit in the middle of the road, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was an unfortunate incident there, Danny. I think sort of an innocent bystander through all of that. It wasn't anything malicious by Simon. It was just, again, a little bit of a misunderstanding of where the cars were going to be at that moment in time. But still, I'm thankful for Simon Povey that it didn't pay too much damage to his hopes of getting a second race victory here tonight. Currently now 1.2 seconds behind race leader Christopher Smith, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen there. Christopher Smith, with the help of his teammate, of course, has led from pretty much the start of the race up until now. The name of the drivers, as we get towards the closing stage of the races, will just get a little bit more aggressive in their moves to try and make up positions now.
Where did Taylor Adams finish race 1? Was he 7th? I think he was 7th, wasn't he?
Around 6th or 7th, yeah.
Yeah, because he was 3rd on the grid, wasn't he? No, he was 4th on the grid for this one. So yeah, he would have been 7th. 7th in the race, because 8th would have been Dominic Brennan, 9th was Matt Slight, 10th was Christopher Smith. So with him finishing in 7th place in race 1, he would have lost 5 points to Nils Kaur in the championship. Nils now being in 3rd place with Taylor in 11th would gain him, speak English Chaz, another 8 points. So tonight, I mean, having 13 points added onto the already 14-point gap would give Nils Kaur a 27-point championship lead over Taylor Adams going into the final 2 races of the season. And let's not forget, you get 25 points for a race victory in the endurance races. So if it finishes as it is, I mean, these guys aren't going to finish if they carry on going like this, but if it finishes as is, Taylor will just need to, well, Nils actually just needs to finish ahead of Taylor or right behind him at Motegi, and he will be the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge champion. And I hate to say that we saw it coming this season with Nils, but the way he was racing in the Winter Tour, when he got that first win at Fuji after being in this community and in these championships for so long, well, we knew that it was go time, didn't we? He certainly turned it up a notch, hasn't he, Nils Core? It's great to see.
Yeah, let's not forget as well how unlucky Nils Core was at the closing stages of the Winter Tour. He was on track for the championship, but then just incidents that he was an innocent bystander in as well. None of the incidents that really befell him seemed to be his fault, just caught up in the accidents that other people were in, took him out of the equation. So he has really developed as a driver from his first outing in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, then through the Winter Tour and until now as well. He has been a very, very impressive driver, and it's been great to see him do so well this season and be one of the few drivers that's really been able to take the fight to Simon.
Yeah, definitely. So far for Nils Core this season, he's had 5 race victories, 4 on the bounce, let's not forget. Rounds 2, 3, 4 and 5 he won after a horrendous first round of the season. Let's not forget Laguna Seca. He and Matt Slight made contact on the very first lap, didn't they? And it was just recovery drives from there. He's been on the podium 9 times this season as Nils Core, and he is the current championship leader as a result by that. Kyle Ridley, unfortunately, his night is over. He's in the YouTube chat saying it's been a tough morning, actually. Oh yeah, I forgot he's in Australia, isn't he? So it's the morning. Well, it's a shame to see it, Kyle. We were rooting for you, really, mate. It's a massive, massive shame for his home race, effectively, to not go as planned. But with no disrespect to Kyle, it doesn't detract from the amazing excitement that we've had right up at the front of the order here, and 3 of the fastest guys in the series battling away, while Christopher Smith, to be honest, has just been doing exactly what he needs to do in that BMW. Chris has not won a race in this championship before. He's been mighty close, and he was part of that amazing 1-2 finish for RD Simsport back at the Hungaro ring when they pulled off that one-stop strategy, and he was the mastermind behind it as well. So it's lovely to see him right up at the sharp end, potentially about to take a win.
Yeah, he could be definitely on track for a victory. And would it be, right, Chaz, his first Sim Racing Magazine victory?
Yes, out of all of them, yeah. He's had 2 podiums this season. He had a 2nd place in round 5 and a 2nd place in round 9, both of which sprint races. Ooh. So he's certainly been making the sprint race format work for him. He had a DNF in the first race at Red Bull Ring, apparently. Oh, no, sorry, no. He wasn't actually here for round 4 of the season. That's why.
Very impressive, Van Beelen, before the end of the race.
Rob Sharp and John Roberts under the radar here. So too Steve Burns as well, actually. 7th, 8th and 9th, those guys. John Roberts inside the top 10. He'll be happy with that. Mike Murphy, even though he's been battered around all over the place in this race, still running in 11th position. So actually a really solid recovery, that is. Dennis Van Beelen is also under the radar. He's not far off the back of this fight, you know. But he's another one that's been really benefiting from the sprint race format, is Dennis Van Beelen. He's not scored a podium yet this season, but he's had some really strong points finishes when it comes to these sprint race nights. So it's another one to add to his list of great performances, as Martin Kenyon gets involved in the fight here with Matt Slight. Matt's on the outside line. The 2 of them nearly make contact. Matt's trying to hang it all the way around the outside before diving down the hill, hoping to be later on the brakes in the McLaren. The Aston has to cut across now, and he does so very cleanly. 16th position for Martin Kenyon, but he's still gained 11 spots from where he started. He could even let the 2 cars behind him go as well if they become too much of a pain, and he'll still get his first championship points of the season. I think we may be about to see Gilles Gardner get his as well, actually. Gilles' only been with us for a few meetings this season, and he's currently holding on into 19th place for 2 championship points. There's been a move further up. Povey's got ahead of well, I was going to say he's got ahead of Core, but Nils Core says not on your life, sunshine. Have some of that. Gives him a bit of a barge in the left-hand side. Povey puts his nose back down the inside. It's getting a little bit scrappy now, Ed. There's 2 minutes left on the clock now. 1 lap after this one, I'm pretty sure. And that is Christopher Smith just up the road. 1.3 seconds ahead of 4th place. This is all going to come to a head now, I'm telling you.
Yeah, this is very, very scary stuff. Christopher Smith trying to carve a path up ahead and bring some slipstream in for his teammate, James Holman, as Nils Core is having to really defend from Simon Povey now. Simon is desperate for that podium, desperate to try and win the race, but with so little time in the race, even if he gets ahead of Nils, it'll be an impressive feat to close that gap up to Christopher Smith ahead of him, while also overtaking James Holman. So will we see an RD Simsport 1-2 Can James Holman hold off the advance of the BMW of Nils Corr and Simon Povey? He's been chasing him down all race long. This has been such an impressive drive from both of the drivers for different reasons for RD Simsport, hasn't it, Chaz?
Yeah.
We've got Christopher Smith managing and helping his teammate out with the slipstream, leading every single lap, and then James Holman for withstanding that pressure from behind while not losing touch to his teammate.
Yeah, James Holman's been so impressive in this one, especially in the Mercedes as well. It's not really a favoured car. I think he's got a bit of damage from the earlier contact as well. Sure, it was heartbreaking that he had that contact with the two Regenta cars, but it was just hard racing, wasn't it, in the opening stages. Simon Povey still having a go at Nils Corr. He tries it around the outside yet again. He's just bouncing off the back of that BMW. It's like there's a bungee cord attached to the front of the McLaren. It's absolutely awesome. Mike Murphy and Ben Chalcraft are having a bit of an inter-team battle here, side by side. Let's hope that we don't mix the two flavours of crisps, boys, otherwise it'll be a mess. Don't need any of that. It'll be Ben picking him out the carpet later. Whoa, that was a big wobble on the exit, wasn't it, by Chalcraft? But we go further up the order because there's yet more BMWs dispersed inside the top 10, but one of them leads the race outright, and Christopher Smith has done everything right so far in this race. He's had his teammate really trying to help him out behind, but he's only got 2 more corners to go. The clock is about to tick down to 0. Nils Corr is trying everything he can to get past James Holman, but James wants to hold on to that RD Simsport 1-2 finish. See whether he can do it to the line, but just in front. It's been a long time coming, this has, but Christopher Smith is finally a winner in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, and he does it at Phillip Island in style with his teammate James Holman in second place. RD Simsport 1-2. What a great drive by both of them. Nils Corr on a podium. That's Simon Povey. Oh, clearly not too happy with Nils Corr there. Either that or he's just having a bit of a laugh at the end of the race. I really hope it was down to that. Dennis Van Beelen finishes in 5th position. What a great drive from him as well. Very under the radar, it has to be said. Danny Lee next up, Stephen Burns, Rob Sharp and John Roberts inside the top 10. Ben Chalcraft and Mike Murphy. Well, these two are definitely having a meme at the end of the race, but those two separated by... Oh my God. What did we just see then? What was that? We need to see that from Mike Murphy's point of view, because you'll just see the car take off. What on earth, Ben? Oh, he might just be out of shot. Nope. That's fantastic by Ben Chalcraft. That's better than the jump at Bathurst, that is. That's absolutely mega. We've still got drivers crossing the line, by the way. Martin Kenyon did get his points. He finished in 17th position. Gilles Gardner gets his first points of the season, and Ralph Meyer completes the points finishers. Andy Marston next up with Kim Such behind him. And then the final car to cross the line after a spin or two, Philip Hopley for Waterside Gym Esports. But Christopher Smith, like I say, finally a winner in the championship, and he will really be over the moon with that. Simon Povey, over the moon. Absolutely over the moon for him. Here comes Chris down the start-finish straight. I'm not sure if he's going to do some sort of burnouts or something for us. Or is he just going to park it for a pretty picture? Is James Holman going to join him? That's the question. No, I don't think so. I think James is going into the pits. We'll have to wait and see. But still, wow. What a great second race once again. Plenty of action in that second race of the night. God, it's always lively, isn't it, Ed? Absolutely awesome fun.
Yeah, very impressive stuff. That was a wonderful race by RD Simsport, and of course race winner Christopher Smith ahead of his teammate James Coleman to make it an RD Simsport 1-2. What a finish that was, Chaz. What a race by the two of them as well. Get some much needed championship points.
Indeed it was. It's an RD Simsport 1-2. Christopher Smith and James Holman. Nils Corr and Simon Povey 3rd and 4th there. Maybe a few tempers flaring at the end. Dennis Van Beelen in 5th place. What a drive. Danny Lee eventually recovered to 6th place ahead of Stephen Burns. He did really well there for Win It or Bin It Racing. A bit of vengeance for Kyle Ridley maybe. Rob Sharp finishes in 8th with John Roberts, another top 10 for him. And then Ben Chalcraft in 10th. Mike Murphy finishes 11th ahead of Taylor Adams, who will not be too pleased with tonight. Dean Powell 13th ahead of Toby Johns, more points for him. Matt Slight in 15th. Ryan Penny was then in 16th position ahead of Martin Kenyon and Paul Goffin, with Gilles Gardner and Ralph Meyer completing the top 20. Next up was Andrew Marston with Kim Such in 22nd. Philip Hopley was the final car on the lead lap. And the cars that didn't finish the race were Drew Fletcher, Mark Johnson, Kyle Ridley and Don Brennan did not take the start. Well, there's only one man that we really need to speak to right now, Ed, and that is the man that's just taken his first race win in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Chris, how do you feel, mate? You must be absolutely over the moon with that one. What a drive.
Thank you. Bit speechless, really. I don't know, not quite sunk in, but yeah, I mean, wow. The car did not have the pace to do that tonight, and I'd never expected that. I thought I was going to get absolutely mugged at the start line, but somehow I managed to pull a gap, and somehow there was some kind of carnage behind. No idea what was going on back there. But I think James was involved somehow, and he's not had time to see the replay, neither have I, but obviously extremely sorry for any involvement that might have caused or damaged people's races. But yeah, thanks again to James for holding off the ravening horde, because I could see their slavering lips. And that's what caused me to run wide. I heard the spotter came over the radio. I don't know if you saw me. I ran off track and I had a 2-second gap, which then came down to a 0.8-second gap.
Yes.
Because the spotter goes, oh, the car in 4th place just did a 134.4. And I was like, what? Shit, no. Sorry. Yeah, so I overshot my braking zone. I think that the corners on this track are tricky, especially for this car. I mean, even the final corner, it should be flat out, but, you know, confidence lifts all the time because it's just pushing wide everywhere.
I was going to say, it didn't look like the most comfortable of circuits for these cars, but that's what sort of makes it such a fun challenge, isn't it? Because it's a lively one. You're always on the edge around here, aren't you?
Yeah. And congrats to Simon for winning race 1 again with matched pace.
We don't do that here. We don't blow smoke up Simon's backside anymore. I've done too much of it. It's ridiculous. But you're the race winner here, Chris. You're the race winner in that second one, mate. You had to work so hard for it. And obviously we go to another very interesting circuit next time with a name that I now hate, Mobility Resort Motegi. What did you feel about going there?
I don't even own the track, so yeah,
what?
That's saying something. I know.
Wow.
I don't own the track. I've never raced there, and
you love it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning it. Don't know where I'm going to find the time to learn it, but we'll try. And yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, it's a BMW track.
Well, fingers crossed. I mean, the Beam has been very, very good recently, and it's been great to have that resurgence for it this season. But we need to, unfortunately, move on, Chris. But we're very, very pleased for you. It's great to see you get that win. Like we said before, you know, very deserving. You've been right up there for a long time in this championship, so it's great to see it happen. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before you go?
Shout out to you guys. Shout out to the broadcast. It's great fun to watch back.
Thank you.
Fantastic commentary by the pair of you. Thank you very much. And well done to James. You know, that Mercedes needs an even wider backside, but you did very well done with that. And shout out to the team. RD Sim Sport competing in another league tonight as well, so hope they're doing well. And hello to anybody who knows me who's watching, and my goldfish.
Cracking stuff, Chris. Awesome to speak to you again, mate. Very well done on the win, and we'll see you in a week's time. Have a good one.
Pleasure, yeah.
Well, there we go, Ed. Like we said, very deserving winner there, Christopher Smith. He's worked so hard to get that win, hasn't he? He's been around for a long, long time in the series and in the community, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's been wonderful to see Christopher Smith's just real development as a driver as well. We knew that he was going to be someone special, but I'm surprised, to be honest, that it took so long for him to get the race victory, because he's always been there or thereabouts, hasn't he, Chaz? Always been in the picture, in the question, and now it's just great to see Christopher Smith coming through, especially another driver that we're just about to have a word to, a driver that's a lot newer to the championship, but again, has provided some excellent races, especially here tonight. Indeed.
Danny Lee, welcome to the box, my friend. Boy, you were working hard in that first race. You must have been sweating buckets before the second one even started.
I had to swap buckets halfway through. It really was that was hard work. I think that is the most packed 50 minutes of fighting that I can remember in a long, long time. It's last race was a little bit quiet, made up for it this week. My word, honestly, that was insane racing from start to finish.
But good fun along the way, yeah.
Yeah, good fun, frustrating, but as we're about to see, I'm sure we'll discuss. Even my best could not crumble Nils, and wow, yeah, amazing racing from everybody involved there.
Yeah, it was just so close all the way through. It's one of those circuits where you really have to find a key part of the track, don't you, to just get that tiny gap and just open the door. There was a few moments tonight, actually. I think we saw one with Simon Povey where you open the door, and I don't even think Simon expected it, did he? There was a little bit of argy-bargy in there.
Yeah, I think maybe he didn't know I was there. It was only a little bit of contact, but it was enough to, I was already on the right and I was already on the edge of the track, and a little bit of a knock just kind of sent me onto the grass, and then, there's not much you can really do there. But it was nice to actually fight with Simon. He's normally out so far in front that he doesn't, he probably doesn't even need to use a spotter. But, maybe that's the reason why he kind of like just tapped me and he probably didn't know I was there, tapped me on the shoulder, and because it's just a small tap and I'm already on the edge, it's like poking somebody that's leaning over a barrier. They're just gonna. That's all it takes at times.
Don't defend Simon. He's an absolute Billy, mate. Don't defend Simon. But no, it was an amazing fight all the way through, and it's great to hear that you enjoyed it, and obviously had to work hard and have a lot of fun battles along the way. We go to Motegi next time though, in Japan, where the notoriously slippy Japanese tarmac will be at play, but it's also going to be a race that goes into the darkness as well. Do you prefer races like that, or do you prefer it when it's full daylight like we have in these ones?
I do like races that transition into sunset and sundown. They just have a bit more of an occasion about them. So yeah, it's a positive vote from me. Looking forward to it. It's one of those tracks whereby even when you're doing really well at it, it doesn't feel like it. It's just weird, kind of flat pancakey, but we'll have to see. I don't think the Asta's going to be as strong there as it was here, because there's not so many corners, but we really don't know. It's been so long since I last went there, and never in this car, so I'm excited to see how it all works out. At least there'll be plenty more opportunities to send one down the inside, more than there was tonight.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of hard braking zones there as well, so that'll be good to watch. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before you go, mate?
Shout out to the rest of the grid, obviously. Really, really close, hard racing. Tonight was probably the just about the best one of the season, I reckon, in terms of just pure action from start to finish. So, if you cut it in half, it'd just be a solid block of racing. So thanks to Ben for that. And you guys for the broadcasts, for league admins for giving us something to race, and everybody watching.
Nicely said, Danny. Great to speak to you, mate. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you at Motegi. Have a good one.
See you next week. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Oh, there we go. Great to hear that Danny's enjoying it so much, Ed. And it's hardly surprising, though, is it? I mean, he was right in the thick of it from the start to the finish.
Yeah, he was in every race of the evening, wasn't he, really? Right in the midst of all of the action and the battles. And it's great to see that he's still in high spirits after what I can imagine must have been a very frustrating evening for him, after racing up there, tracing down the likes of Nils Core and Simon Povey, getting not deliberately hip-checked, but still involved in those incidents that saw him lose out positions. It's going to be frustrating, but the fact that he's still in high spirits just shows what a great character he is, and also just how much he loves this championship and how much we love having him here. And another driver we love having here, a driver that I don't think was here in seasons before, but it's certainly making an impact this season, from just missing out, isn't it, actually, on the reverse grid pole position to finish up in 5th place in that final race. We've got Dennis Van Beelen. And Dennis, it's great to have a little word with you, mate. I don't think we've spoken too often before, but it's great to have you back here in the comms box, and just talk us through that second race, because going from disappointment to elation, that must be really good for you.
Yeah, good evening. The second race was a big highlight, especially after the contact with Taylor. It freed up some positions, and then Christopher did such an amazing job of keeping James behind him, and James was just the biggest roadblock ever, and it was just impossible to overtake him. And luckily, that brought the pace of Nils and Simon a bit back down, which made me be able to take their slipstream and follow them along, pretty much, which led to my best position so far in this season.
It's wonderful to have a word with you, because we saw a lot of you in that first race as well, in sort of the squadron of BMWs. It was you and the other one, I think it was of Stephen Burns and Ben Shalcraft.
It was Ben Shalcraft and Christopher Smith, actually. He got pole position because of it.
We were all of you in together in the midst of that battle. Now, how is it like battling with the same sort of car? Because you know its strengths and weaknesses. Is there anything you can do differently against a BMW that you would do, say, against a Porsche or a McLaren, in how you fight with them?
No, not a lot. In fact, compared to the other cars, for the BMW, I would send in that tight chicane, the tight right-hander, where Taylor unfortunately got crashed out. That's the BMW strength from this track. You can send it properly. we can dive. We can like break 20 meters deeper than the rest, I think. But yeah, when you're fighting BMWs, they all have the same advantage. So you kind of lose that. And our disadvantage, I would say, is the very fast turns, like the last corner. While the Mercedes is kind of blitzing through it, we have to hold our pants because we're almost going off track right there.
And talk us through as well what your experience has been like in the season so far. Obviously, this is your first time racing. I believe you joined after Niels Kaur, because I think Niels Kaur was one of your former teammates before moving to Satellite Racing. Just how has your experience been so far in your first season racing with us?
Yeah, absolutely amazing. It's compared to officials, it's insane how good the racing is. You can be side by side for multiple corners. I've thoroughly enjoyed this season. It has been great, and if we're doing another season, I'm happily be part of that too.
Oh, we're absolutely doing another season, don't you worry. Me and Chaz love this championship too much to kiss it goodbye anytime soon, so we'll hope to see you on the grid for the next one. We've got 2 more rounds of the championship though. Twin Ring Motegi, or Motability Resort Motegi, and Suzuka at the end of the season. Those last 2 rounds give you any hopes for another good result potentially?
Well, Motegi will be a big learning curve. I've never touched the track yet. I did buy it, but I've just never driven on it, so that will be a huge unknown. But so was this track, and this was a positive surprise. And I'm really looking forward to Suzuka. Suzuka is amazing.
Yeah, Suzuka to round out the season. It
I
just
can't
feels
wait
right,
for
doesn't it?
I can't wait for the finale.
You and me both.
Neither can we, mate. Well, before we say goodbye to you, Dennis, is there anybody that you would like to give a shout out on the broadcast, mate?
Yeah, let me just shout out Niels Kaur. We're kind of working together behind the scenes on setup, on tips and tricks, and he's helping me a lot. And in fact, he got me into this championship. So yeah, thanks for that.
No worries. Well, thank you, Nils, for bringing you in, because you've given us some great racing, and hopefully we'll see more of you in the final 2 rounds of the season and also in the next one as well. All the best, buddy.
Yeah, thank you for the broadcast, guys.
Cheers,
You're
Dennis.
doing an amazing job.
Thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much. So there we go, Dennis Van Beelen. Really happy with how it's going for him at the moment, but like you said, that's his best result of the season. And again, another one of the drivers that's just making that sprint race format work, isn't it, Ed?
Yeah, he really does, and it's great to see new drivers, the sort of way they feel about the championship as well, and the fact that coming into a new championship as a driver that hasn't been around before, all the other drivers know each other and have raced with one another, you can feel a little bit like an outsider, and you can maybe get sort of lost in a lot of the battles, but it's been great to see him just take to it so well. He's obviously had the help of knowing Niels Kaur beforehand, which helps him settle in, but some of the races he's been doing, especially recently, have been really, really impressive, and hopefully we'll see more of that in the final 2 races of the season.
Yeah, I can't even believe now that we're at that point of the season now. Just 2 races left to go. No more sprint race format for the remainder of the season. As you will have heard by now, as we've mentioned it multiple times, we're going to be going to Mobility Resort Motegi for the penultimate round of the season, and then the Suzuka International Racing Course, which I think is going to be an awesome, awesome finale for the championship. Really looking forward to those last 2 rounds, but that is unfortunately all we have time for here tonight on Chaz Draycott Media. Thanks very much once again, Ed. It's been a pleasure as always. Thanks to the drivers, everybody involved, for having a fantastic time out there on track and giving us something to watch. And of course, thanks to our sponsors, Oris Digital, Crockery Direct, Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Bespoke Shelters. It's been an absolute pleasure once again. We'll see you in a week's time then at Motegi, everybody, but for now, have a fantastic evening and we'll see you again soon. 4 French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and
But
Pouget.
before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy. You know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and a drift is going off. Ben Gregory now, I love it. 18.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.